This is part 7 of the story of the silent twins by the names of June and Jennifer Gibbons. Due to the girls starting a starvation pact in prison, they decided it was best to send them to the hospital and separate them. The hospital was taking note of their synchronized movements. If one was eating, so was the other. If one was sleeping, so was the other. If one was reading, so was the other. 7 months later, they were on trial for their arson. They were then convicted of 16 felonies. After their trial, the prison sent them to a psychiatrist where they were then diagnosed with psychopathic personality disorder. The psychiatrist thought it would be best for them to be sent to a psych ward for the criminally insane instead of the prison for the rest of their lives. When the girls were together at the psych ward, they would try to kill each other, but when they were apart, they were so lonely that they wanted to die. June even tried to commit suicide. To that day, still nobody knew why they were silent and why they would copy each other's movements until this girl, Mary Wallace, got involved. Stay tuned for part 8, which is the last part.
I have a movie idea! Hear me out. So there's this girl, right? And she just turned 16. This girl just so happens to be the daughter of a very wealthy and famous family. So of course the news of her birthday was posted all over social media. But exactly 1 week after her birthday, she gets kidnapped by a young man in his 20s. As soon as the guy gets her and him to a safe hidden location, he takes the covering off her head. And his first words to her are, "I can't believe that I finally found you." The girl immediately starts to panic. Quickly, the guy unties her hands and tries to let her know that he's not there to hurt her, but he's there to prove to her that the family she's with now isn't her real family, that they kidnapped her when she was just a baby, and he is her real brother who's been trying to find her for years.
This is the weirdest, most toxic marriage I've ever seen in the history of life. So this is Linda, and one day she was just hanging out at the Bronx when all of a sudden a car pulls up, stops in the middle of the street, and out comes good old Bert. He was a successful attorney, and he was like, "Listen, you're the most beautiful person that has ever existed. Please date me." So she does, and they start dating, and it was really cute in the beginning. And then she finds out that he has a wife and a kid at home. Now, you would think that Linda would be the one that would be mad, but Bert got mad and he said, "Listen, if I can't have you, ain't nobody gonna have you. And when I'm done with you, nobody's gonna want you." End quote. She reported it to the police and they didn't really do anything, so she ends up moving on and gets engaged to a guy by the name of Larry. So when Bert finds out about the engagement, he decides to hire someone to throw acid in her face. This will leave her eventually permanently blind and scarred. So Bert gets sent to prison for 14 years, and when he's released, this is the kicker. He proposes to Linda. And she deadass accepts. And they get married. She said that the best revenge for blinding her was now that he has to put up with her every.
This is the reason why I treat people the way that I do. And this is how a toxic friend changed my life. Let's set the scene. 5th grade. I had a best friend, not gonna name her. We were like this. We were partners for everything. Always sat next to each other. If the teacher said team up, she'd be like, "I want to be with Joe today." So we would team up. But if we were ever on a team and we were losing, she would blame me. If I got a question wrong, she would call me dumb. If I shared my snacks with her, she wouldn't share any of hers back with me. You guys know those Cosmo brownies with the sprinkles? I would literally force my mom to buy those just for her. And when I'd ask for a chip, she'd be like, never willing to share. We would get into fights a lot. And in turn, I started being mean. But up until that point, I was a pretty wild child. Pretty crazy. Hyper. This girl would make me feel stupid for getting questions wrong, for not being fast enough in PE, but then the next day would want to be my best friend. I felt like a failure a lot. If I won anything, I'd have to give it to her. And I was mean too. I didn't like the person I was around her. Until eventually in art class, I legitimately had an epiphany. She was copying my artwork. I was a pretty good artist. She knew that, so she was copying me. Wait for part 2. This is part 2 and how a toxic friend changed my life. As she was copying my artwork, which honestly was probably tearing me up on the inside. Again, this was 5th grade. I had this little epiphany. I was staring at her copying my work, and I thought to myself, I will never treat anyone like this girl has treated me. And I live by that. It has completely fundamentally changed the way I view friendship, relationships in general. To treat someone with kindness and respect, to put other people first, not expect anything in return, and to also know my worth. It helped me so much going into middle school. I picked my friends. I never fought with any of my friends. To this day, that was the last person I fought with, because I chose the people I surrounded myself with. Good people who again treated me with kindness and respect. It also taught me to be a good host. When someone comes into your house, please treat them with kindness and respect. Give them attention. Do you want water? Would you like to watch TV? Talk to them, ask them questions. This is how I make all my friends. Meeting someone new, showing an interest in them, offering things to them, letting them speak, never letting them feel like they're stupid. Never. Showing them their value, showing them their worth, but also knowing your own. I never had any issues in high school. No issues in middle school. I don't know, I just wanted to share. Okay, thank you, God bless.
I got a gum infection right around my wisdom teeth. I actually got it pulled out in 10 minutes. However, after 9 hours or so, I called the dentist's office. I said, I can't feel my face. Is it supposed to last for this long? They went quiet on the other side. I had the dentist check up on my face and he started tapping this area, tapping this area. I said, I can't feel any of that. He goes, normally it should come back after like 2 hours, 3 hours, because he didn't really inject me with that much anesthesia. I'm looking at him going, did you just paralyze my face?
Okay, so story time. So basically one time in 5th grade, my dad took me to get breakfast from Dunkin' Donuts. We went there before school like always, and as we were there, this strange man outside was staring at me and like making faces. Super creepy. We didn't know him or anything, so we walked inside and I was kind of freaked out. I told my dad that I was creeped out by him and he told me that nothing bad was gonna happen. Or so he thought. So we got our foods and we ate it. Everything was fine, chill. After we were done, we got up to leave. The man was gone by now, so I felt better But then on the way to my school, I saw him walking on the sidewalk. Like, I figured he was going to his house or like somewhere else. When we got to my school, no one was outside. It was kind of weird. We went to open the door because my dad was a part of the PTA, so he came in with me. The door for some reason was locked. My music teacher out of nowhere ran out and brought us inside quickly. She told us that our whole school was on code red. Scary. And that a man was in our school, so we went inside and I went and hid in the music room. Like for part 2.
Storytime on when my mom kicked me out of the house and told me not to come back. So my mom was a security guard and she worked nightly shifts. And I'm not gonna lie, once I hit high school, I used to sneak boys in and out of the house. Now at the time, I was dating a boy, he was 18 and I was 15. Let's just call him Vomit. So one night, Vomit came over. And of course, at the time, my mom was working. So you already know we was doing grown things. You already know we was doing grown stuff. So then I hear the front door open. She starts calling my name from the bottom of the stairs. And you already know I ran over there because I got nervous. So I hurry up, I put on all my clothes and I tell him to hide in my closet. So I go downstairs and I ask my mom, I'm shocked that she's home so early. Like, why is she home so early? And she said that she had an early shift that night because her job closed early or something like that. So then I hear him walking upstairs and me and my mom look at each other. I ran up those stairs so quick. And then my mom said, you have 5 seconds to come downstairs right now before I beat your ass. Like for part 2.
I just got out of marriage counseling with my wife, and it didn't really go as planned. So the entire time we're out counseling, my wife is complaining to the therapist, saying that I don't love her anymore, there's no passion in our relationship, I don't make time for her, this and that, and just sobbing to the therapist. So the whole time that she's complaining to the therapist, I'm rolling my eyes, I can't stand it, and finally, the therapist cuts her off. I'm relieved that my wife stopped talking, but the therapist gets up out of his seat, walks over the table, and tells my wife to stand up. The therapist then starts to make out with my wife passionately, grabbing her butt, grabbing her waist, and I'm just sitting there like, what is going on? So then the therapist goes to me, see what I just did to your wife? She needs this minimum 3 times a week. So I look at the therapist and go, Mondays and Tuesdays I can drop her off here, but Wednesdays I actually go fishing, but you can come by the house and pick her up if you want.
This is part 4 of the story of the Silent Twins, by the names of June and Jennifer Gibbons. Once they sent June to be back with Jennifer, the staff at the school decided to release them from school at only 16 years old. The girls, now having all the free time in the world, started making fantasy lives for their dolls. Every single thing they had their dolls do, both of them had to agree on. Their mom finally decided that it would probably be healthy to give the girls diaries. The girls wrote in the diaries about how they wished they were individuals, but they did not know how to, nor had the strength to. Finally, when they were 17 years old, they decided that they needed to experience life. The best way to do this, they thought, was to get boyfriends. But every time they would encounter boys, they couldn't get up the courage to break their silence. They finally got up the courage to go after the Armstrong boys, who one of them they thought was already in love with them. The boys would drink with the girls, they would smoke with the girls, they would do teenage things. Stay tuned for part 5.
Buy mascara. Turn on your hair dryer and put it on cold mode and wait for...
The results of this actually look really good and I'm so curious, so let's try it out. You first pop on a layer of mascara. Then you take your hairdryer and blow them upwards for 20 seconds. My eye has gone so dry, I feel like it's going to start streaming in a minute. Then you do another coat, the same, and blow dry it. This is what it looks like. My eye's gone all watery. I don't really like it, but I'm going to do my other eye normally so you can see the difference. I've done this side normally and this side just doesn't work. Look at the difference.
To anyone who gets a period, this video is for us. When I was in middle school, I really appreciated this teacher who would let the girls go to the bathroom whenever we wanted. And the guys would complain that they had to wait 20 minutes at least after lunch so that they could use the restroom. And the teacher would always remind them, you guys are boys and these are young ladies and they don't always have to just relieve themselves in the restroom. And I didn't even realize...
We never lie. They've seen us talk, yeah. They've seen us walk, yeah. Trying ripping us apart. They had their thoughts, yeah. They had their say, but this is our way. Yeah, I'm tired as bruises, yeah. Girl, no take useless. Don't stop feeling hopeless. Even though I may be broken, never gonna say goodbye. It's only you and